Okay, so this is the Mi10i. Yes, also known as Redmi Note 9 Pro in China, but in India it came under Xiaomi branding rather than the Redmi one. Either way, it's one of the first budget smartphones that comes with 108 megapixel camera, 120Hz refresh screen and should be priced relatively low. So the question that has to be asked is, how good is this Mi10i? And more importantly, should you buy it? Well, this is Mina from TechWiser.com and we upload videos twice a week. So if you wanna stay wiser, make sure you subscribe to TechWiser. With that said, let's check out the first impression of this Mi10i and should you buy it or not. Let's begin. Okay, so let's quickly start the unboxing. So the box looks different from the Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G box, but let's open it up from the side. And here we go. So you get the phone, let's keep that aside. Other than that, there's a USB-C cable and a 33-watt charging brick, which I have to say looks quite big. Now, before we take a look at the phone, let's see the cover, and it's big and so is the phone. In fact, the phone is not just big, it's quite heavy as well. Kind of like iPhone XS Max, in fact, it's even taller than that. So yeah, even though I'm coming from a bigger phone, I still find this one a little bit bigger and bulkier. So yeah, you might want to consider the form factor before buying. Now let's take a look at the phone itself, and it definitely feels premium. Another thing that I like about this phone is that the camera bump is not that big. So if I compare it with my iPhone's camera bump, you can see that it wobbles when I'm typing, but thanks to the new Samsung HM2 sensors that they have used in Mi10i, it doesn't wobble as the camera sensor isn't that thick. Now talking about the buttons, I use the Redmi Note 9 Pro as my secondary phone and it has pretty much the same kind of buttons. The fingerprint sensors on the left is quite fast, which also act as a power button, followed by two volume up and down button on top of it. On the other side it has, let's see, a hybrid SIM card slot. Yeah, most of the other smartphone gets you two SIM card and one micro SD card. But this one can only hold two SIM card or one SIM card and one memory card. Either way, at the bottom you get the headphone jack and Type-C port. Okay, now let's turn on the phone and set it up. After you set it up, let's see what the version of Android it's running. So let's go to the settings. And it's running Android 10 with MIUI 12. Now talking about the specs, it comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 GB of internal storage and of course Snapdragon 750G. So yeah, the performance should be top notch and it can handle most of the games. We will come to that in a bit. Now talking about the UI, it has a typical MIUI, and what do you see in MIUI? Yes, bloatware, also known as recommended apps like Facebook, Amazon, LinkedIn, etc. And then there is also suggested games as well. Surprisingly, some of these games also have permanent notification enabled by default. That said, I will let it pass since it's a review unit and hopefully it will not reach the retail ones. Thankfully, you can uninstall them if you don't want them on your phone, but yeah, even though it comes under the flagship branding of Mi10, it has ads. But you know what? One of the most anticipated thing about this phone is the 108 megapixel camera. So, how's the camera? Well, talking about the camera, the Mi10i comes with quad-core camera setup with 108 megapixel main camera, 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera, 2 megapixel macro and just 2 megapixel depth sensor. Now I took a couple of photos on Mi10i with and without 108 megapixel camera, and as you can see from this photo, the difference is quite noticeable. The lights are sharper in 108 megapixel camera, more vibrant, and I have more capacity to zoom in. Now here's another one, the 108 megapixel looks well lit and it has more details, and of course more pixel means more zoom capacity. But if you see this photo taken under low lighting condition, you will see that the 108 megapixel camera isn't very effective since it's using pixel binning. Normally it takes 12 megapixel photos. Now talking about the selfies, the front camera is 16 megapixel and does a decent job with options such as night mode, AI beauty, etc, etc. I tried the video mode as well and I didn't find any issues with stabilization or focus. So yeah, the camera on this phone seems pretty robust in our first impression. And of course, since it's also Snapdragon, Gcam mods will also work fine. But yeah, wait for a full review as well as the upcoming Gcam comparison video. Another key highlight of this phone other than the 108 megapixel camera is 120Hz refresh rate. Now talking about the display, it's 6.6 inch with 2400 by 1080p full HD plus display, and of course it also has 120Hz of refresh rate which supports adaptive sync. So yeah, it can go to 30Hz, 40Hz, 50Hz, 60Hz and up to 120Hz. In simple words, what it means is if you open an application that only uses 30 FPS, then the phone will automatically switch to 30Hz, and if you play a game which supports up to 120 FPS, then the display will automatically switch to 120Hz. Yes, it's pretty cool, and this feature saves a lot of battery. Although the display is LCD and not AMOLED, but yes, it does supports Widevine L1 certification for Netflix as well as HDR. So yes, you can watch HDR videos on YouTube. Next up, we have the gaming test. Yes, I played Call of Duty a few times on this phone, both on default and high settings, and the gameplay was smooth AF. In fact, one of the best gameplay I have seen on a budget smartphones thanks to the Snapdragon 750G. For the past few days, I have been playing Call of Duty for 20 minutes on this phone and it didn't heat up. It just got slightly warm though. So yeah, that's a good first impression. Overall, the 108 megapixel camera seems pretty good, especially in good lighting condition. The 120Hz refresh rate supports adaptive sync, so you won't run out of battery. And the Snapdragon 750G is powerful enough to do some serious gaming and performance. Now, let's take a look at some of the smaller features in this phone. Like, it does come with 33 watt of fast charger in the box, which can charge the phone in 1 hour. Although the charger is quite big like OnePlus. I also like the fact that most of the Xiaomi phones comes with infrared sensor, so you can easily control the AC and TV from the comfort of your bed. Yes, the Mi10i also has this infrared sensor. And finally, as we all know, the Mi10i supports 5G. Yes, it is a 5G capable budget smartphone, but as we all know, it will take few months for 5G to become mainstream. So finally, should you buy this or not? Well, the first impression is pretty solid. Here's what I like about it. The build quality is quite premium, the 108 megapixel rear camera is decent, the 120Hz adaptive refresh rate feels good, and Snapdragon 750G is powerful enough for daily tasks. Now, whether you should buy this phone or not depends on the pricing of the phone. If the price comes somewhere around 20,000 or even below that, then it's a solid contender at this price range. But then again, you also have Realme X7, which will be releasing real soon. So yeah, keep an eye for that. With that said, this was my first impression of a smartphone. So if you like it, thumbs up, and a lot more is coming soon. With that said, if you have any question regarding Mi10i, leave that in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.